on camera, and just so you know. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Season 4 of TechRise. For those of you watching for the first time, I am Desiree Vargas Wrigley, two-time Latina founder here and Executive Director of TechRise by P33. And TechRise is an initiative that we started in partnership with Verizon to help support overlooked and underrepresented founders from across the Chicagoland area. So each week, founders take the stage for a chance to win somewhere between $25,000 and $50,000 to go build their dreams. This week, we are excited to be celebrating Pride Month with our LGBTQ plus competitors. So today, the founders are going to have 4 minutes to pitch their businesses, and then it's going to be followed by 4 minutes of Q&A with the judges. And then the judges have the very difficult task of deciding who's going to win $25,000. And just so you know, so far we've had a little over 300 founders onto the TechRise stage, and collectively they've raised over $110 million in follow-on funding. And we'll have new numbers soon to report after we take a little bit of break for the summer. But do stay with us, because in a few weeks we will be on again for the TechRise Live, which will happen as part of Tech Chicago Day and Tech Chicago Week. And so if you are close to Chicago and want to join us for the Capital Summit, it's July 23rd and 24th here, and you can go to techchicago.com and find out more information there. So while we have the break, though, just so you know, we will be inviting Brian Richardson, CEO of StartOut, a national nonprofit that accelerates the growth of the LGBTQ plus community to drive its economic empowerment, building a world where every LGBTQ plus entrepreneur has equal access to lead, succeed, and shape the work of the future. On stage for a fireside chat, like I said, during the deliberation. So with that, I'm so excited to welcome our judges today. First, we have Ben Stokes, founding partner of Chasing Rainbows. Ben is founding partner and a prolific leader in changing the funding landscape for LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs. He's been internationally recognized for his advocacy work and his commitment to changing the VC funding landscape. And on top of his work with Chasing Rainbows, Ben sits on a number of NFP boards, including the Victory Institute and StartOut. And prior to founding Chasing Rainbows, he previously founded Social Table, a social platform used on every content, which he exited in 2021. Using his own experience, hello, it's great to have you, as an LGBTQ plus founder of color, he's been an active angel investor and advisor for 20 plus companies, successfully achieving 2 exits and multiple markups for invested companies, and has been featured in a number of international podcasts and speaking platforms. So Ben, it's awesome to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And next we have Maddie, who's also a partner at Chasing Rainbows. Maddie is a seasoned professional in the realm of financial and corporate advisory, currently serving as director at FTI Consulting. With her extensive experience, she plays a pivotal role in steering complex advisory projects for clients in heavy industries, emerging tech, and government sectors. She's also a fellow with the Economic Club of New York and on the NYC StartOut board. And she is a director of CFO Solutions at FTI Consulting and has over 10 years of experience in investment real estate. She's developed a machine learning and trading algorithm that generated an 8x multiple. That's pretty impressive. Good job. And previous founder experience includes a personal health score application and an innovative travel solution. So Maddie, thank you so much for being here. And last but not least, we have Philip So, investment analyst at Colorful Capital. Originally from Taiwan, Philip is a graduate student at the Kellogg School of Management. He also previously worked as a senior associate at Citibank before earning his MBA. And he's been actively involved in the LGBTQ plus nonprofit and startup accelerators. He's dedicated to leveraging capital to drive transformation and to promote equality. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and with that, we're ready to get started with our first founder. So I'm excited to welcome Victoria Bills with Banrion Capital to the stage. Great to see you again. And then you are still muted.
Can everybody see my screen?
We can, and we can hear you, so we're ready when you are.
Perfect. How many of you would like to retire before 65? Meet Chad. Chad is one of over 300,000 registered financial advisors in the United States, helping to plan and manage the retirement and savings of over $128 trillion in assets every year. Chad understands that alternative investments, colloquially known as alts, are accessible to most investors regardless of accredited or qualified purchaser status, that they tend to outperform public stocks and bonds by upwards of 12%, but unfortunately, only 74% of financial advisors do not use our alts in their clients' portfolios, Chad included. So if alts are available for everyone, outperform the stock market, and can improve your chances of retiring early, why don't financial advisors use them? Education. I'm Victoria Bills, and I'm here to present to you today a better alternative. Banrion Capital is a technology-enabled B2B marketplace for financial advisors to invest directly into alternative managers and educate themselves on the utilization of alt assets in their clients' portfolios. We operate a marketplace where financial advisors can research alternative managers using our technology platform and receive due diligence reports and storyboards that financial advisors can therefore use to understand how to implement alternative strategies in their clients' portfolios from a tax, risk, and an allocation standpoint, which eliminates the education and implementation barriers to using alts. Our revenue model is to actually charge a software-based fee to advisors as well as for our alts managers. Since our launch in the fall of 2022, we have gained tremendous traction, including 15K in MRR in revenue in our first year and over 8 alternative managers on our platform. Since then, and to date, we have generated over 31K in MRR in revenue and over 16 asset managers on our platform. Education is a key component to our go-to-market strategy, by which our team is heavily focused on utilizing our subject matter expertise in alts to create think pieces and financial commentary via news and media sites such as Bloomberg, Fox News, and Reuters and CoinDesk, all of which are websites that financial advisors are accessing daily, and attending financial advisor and alts manager conferences, not only just to highlight our managers, but to also talk directly about what we're doing. We also have started our pilot program earlier within the fall, where we will be launching to pitch to actually have our first ever 5 financial advisor groups willing to allocate over $1.1 billion to our alts managers on our platform. So why us? At the end of the day, our team, I would say, is well positioned to tackle the democratization and proliferation of alts in the financial advisor space. My co-founder and CEO is a veteran in the financial advisory space, and with our combined over 31 years of experience as well as passion for the industry, we recognize not only that this is an area of focus that can continue to grow, but also with the help of P33 and TechRise, we believe that the 25K today would be very impactful in order to help us to continue our marketing efforts, as well as part of our go-to-market strategy. So thank you so much again, and I hope to answer any questions, comments that you all have today regarding how we can continue to expand and create a better alternative world and democratization of alternative investments for everyone. Thanks.
Great job. Sorry, I came on a little early, but Ben, we want to kick us off with the first question?
Yeah, sure. I just have 2 quick questions for you. One is this mostly liquid or illiquid assets? And then the last one is just around, can this be something that can be white labeled for other partners to use? So something like impact assets or something like that does alternatives as well. Just that from a DAF perspective, this could be really useful for someone like
Yes. So we actually provide liquid and illiquid alternatives. So that's how we're able to provide a full democratization. So we offer 40 Act product solutions, as well as private market solutions on behalf of financial advisors, again, to help that ease of access when it comes to creating alternative portfolios. And then finally, also a white label solution as well for clients.
Cool, awesome. And then is this something that could be used not just for financial advisors, but anyone in sort of like that space as well, who's like not necessarily a financial advisor per se, but someone who directs assets and things like that, or has conversations?
I think definitely this is a much larger strategy going forward to target more I would say even like people that are in the private equity or even like the venture capital space. But for now, our focus is very heavily on wealth advisors or even like family offices and financial advisors. But that's definitely like a down the road 5-year traction once we start to really prove out everything in this space.
Maddie.
Excellent. Very, very interesting business. I'm curious, I have two kind of questions. One is around just competitors. How do you see this solution in relation to some of the competitors, both now and in the future? And then I think second is, when you're talking about a lot of these liquid and illiquid assets, oftentimes valuation is an important piece of that conversation. So how are you thinking about some of these supplemental things?
Definitely. So in terms of our competitors in the space, I think a lot of what they try to do, whether it's the iCapitals or the Cases of the world, to name a few, the differentiator that I think that we provide is that when it comes to those platforms, they very much cater towards the audience of the qualified purchaser or the accredited investor class. Most financial advisors, I would argue 60% of their business is non-accredited, which is what has contributed to the scalability issue when it comes to alts. The other thing is the types of alternatives that they offer on the platform are usually alternatives that are kind of like at the last resort. They haven't been able to make their like final raise. And so they're looking to add that additional 40 or 50 million through financial advisors in order to get in, which is where you get these issues like what happened with BREIT, where essentially financial advisors came into a liquid alternative only to realize that they could not get their money back. And because everyone was through iCapital, when you tried to contact the portfolio manager, you were not a client of the portfolio manager, you're a client of iCapital. And so iCapital does not really help to triage those issues. Whereas with us, we work and curate directly with managers that are looking to work directly with financial advisors. And who are
I'm going to pop in just to make sure that Philip gets a question in.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay, just a quick question. In terms of the educational content, I wonder what really differentiates you from all the like training institutions on the streets?
Yes. So I would say
30 seconds.
Part of it is our subject matter expertise. Again, between myself and my co-founder, we both have over 30 years of experience. The other part of this is when it comes to education, we curate it to the advisor lens. So rather than focusing on buy, sell, hold, we ask whether this is a issue of tax-related issues, liquidity issues, or even if this is like what type of client this would be useful for. If there's like particularly like a focus on a lens that is more on like the social justice side, or whether it's a lens that's focused on
cut us off. I'm so sorry, but great job, Victoria. Thank you. And thank you, judges, for the excellent questions. And next, we're going to invite Brittani Brown with Plug. And then Ben, I'm going to have you pop off video. Perfect. All right, Brittani, we can see you. But we just can't hear you. Perfect.
All right. In 2023, I discovered the perfect solution for me, Notion. It combines Google Docs, to-do lists, and an organizer's dream come true. As I looked into Notion, I realized that it had been around since 2016, and it had taken me 7 years to discover. Now, that's 7 years that I could have been more organized, productive, and had this technology enhance my life. How could I miss this? Well, discovering solutions via web and app marketplace is hard. The market is super saturated, causing both users and innovative startups to drown in the overwhelming number of options available. And every day, more than 250,000 sites are added to the web and 1,000 apps to the App Store. And of those, only 0.5% are going to be successful. That's a lot of noise. And it's only getting worse as the AI app market continues to steadily grow over the next 4 years. Today, there are a few platforms to help users discover, but none that do it in an efficient way. And to understand how folks are using these platforms, I did market research and found that 34% said that they discovered using Google, 24% used TikTok, and nobody used the App Store. But I was surprised to learn that 42% of people said that they discovered from word of mouth, showing that there is a gap in the market that Plug is here to fill. My name is Brittani Brown. My pronouns are they, them, and I am the founder and CEO of Plug, a solution discovery marketplace that cuts through the noise and brings startup innovation to users. Our two-sided marketplace uses AI to connect users with problems with the innovative solutions that they need. Here's how Plug works. Our algorithm creates personalized recommendations relevant to users, allowing users to explore and then save solutions for later. And it also has a daily featured listing, which is great for our B2B side of the marketplace. We play in the $500 billion market of over 150 million startups worldwide, but we're going after those US startups within the Series A through Series D stage. They will pay to be on our Plug platform and have their solutions listed, and also benefit from a more affordable and effective way to acquire customers. We have a three-stage go-to-market strategy in order to capture this market. We're starting by building out our customer side of the marketplace first, where we'll be pounding the pavement to get the word out about Plug. We know that word of mouth is key for discovery. Stage 2 will be focusing on startups, where we'll be going after accelerators and co-working spaces where we know they are. Stage 3 will focus on partnerships, where we'll focus on growth stage VC firms that have platforms that offer support to their portfolio companies. In terms of traction, we have already got some great progress. We're pre-product and we're pre-revenue, and we already have a growing waitlist of over 150 people. We have 6 LOIs from startups who plan to join our 3-month pilot program, and 3 potential partnerships with a bank, VC firm, and incubator. Now, in terms of our product, we just wrapped up prototype testing, and we're using that feedback to inform our MVP build. And the $25,000 from TechRise would be the first check that Plug has received, and will help us to hire the appropriate talent to hit our next 3 milestones, specifically adding in that AI algorithm and getting our product to beta. Now, you might be wondering why me. I previously worked at 2 unicorn startups, Noon and Hinge Health, and I saw firsthand the importance and the cost of customer acquisition. I then went on to work in a VC, where I saw billions of dollars be invested in innovative startups that often fail due to a lack of product demand. I've sat on all 3 sides of this problem, and I know it well. I've also built out a robust advisory board with the support of Khadijah Robinson, who is an ex-founder who successfully built, scaled, and sold a 2-sided marketplace similar to Plug. We're Plug, and we hope that you'll join us as we get innovative startups out of the crowd and plugged in with users today. Thank you.
Great job, Brittany. Thank you. Maddie, will you start us off?
Absolutely. Very interesting application. I think I would love to understand from a consumer side, myself using it, what would take me to the app and what would keep me engaged there? How are you thinking about that customer journey?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Maddie. So quite frankly, like, I get this question a lot. People don't know what they don't know. People don't know what they need, right? Like, think about the car. People thought, oh, we need faster horses. They didn't think that they needed a car. This was this new idea. And similar to me with Notion, I didn't know that I needed Notion until I got it. And so through market research, I asked this question, what is most important when trying out a new solution? Why are new solutions even important? And it's really this effectiveness. The target audience that we're going after is the Gen X to Gen Z, who are tech adaptive, right? Like, they're willing to integrate tech as long as it helps to solve a problem. They're the people who love a hack, right? They love a BuzzFeed, a TikTok, a Pinterest, anything to make their life easier and when they can work smarter and harder. And so really being able to solve problems is going to be the bread and butter of Plug, making sure that our solutions are helping to enhance people's lives.
Thank you.
Following up on that. So if I'm a customer that I don't even know what my problem is, but I just feel a little bit like weird, and how would you convince me?
Sure. So our algorithm would learn everything about you, Philip, and be able to show you solutions that are relevant to your life. Think about Pinterest. Pinterest is my favorite social media platform. Pinterest knows everything about me, and when I go on Pinterest, I find the recipe for dinner that I didn't know I wanted to cook. And so our algorithm will function similarly to that, where it will know you so well to be able to say, oh, you're a pet parent. This is the app that you need, or this is the product that you need to support your pets better.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was just curious around the partnerships and things like that moving forward. Are you thinking this would be something that like a credit card company or something like that would want to be able to partner with you on, to sort of like, be able to give their, their members or card holders access to some of these things? So obviously I was looking at you use Gay Water as an example here. And so like that's obviously a B2C product that is more for people that are like not necessarily for like, making their lives better per se, but obviously like it's a product based sale. So I'm curious, is it more for product based, like, like CPG sort of stuff, or is it actually for like working like Notion, like you mentioned Notion and things like that? So I was just curious where that's at.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it really depends. So right now we stay clear of the B2B side. There are a lot of solutions that are for business owners, right? And that is actually a missed opportunity. So like I said with Philip, the algorithm will learn everything about you, including the work that you do. Notion isn't just something that I like for my personal life, it's something that I use for my business. And so I think we will integrate some B2B solutions so long as it is relevant to a certain type of persona. And in terms of your question about partnership, we're looking to partner with like banks that have these perks bundles to be able to say, hey, as a part of being a part of this bank, you get a discount for this platform.
You have about 15 seconds. Any parting words?
Yeah, so today we're going to be hearing from 4 other incredible founders with incredible solutions that the average person is going to struggle to discover. And Plug is really here to help them, to help these solutions get out of the crowd and get their users quicker, because we know that.
Okay, I got to cut you off now just to be fair, but great job. Nice finish. Thanks so much, Brittany. And judges, thanks for your questions. All right, next we're going to invite Danny Sanchez with The Path. And Maddie and Philip, if you wouldn't mind going off camera, that'd be great.
Hi, everyone. Great to see you, Desiree.
We can see your desktop right now, just so you know.
Oh, well, that's not going to be helpful, is it?
A little less so. Looks like it wants to start, so give it another second or two.
Huh.
Should we give you a second to figure it out and go on to Brandon, or?
Yeah, let's do that. Sorry about that.
No worries. Brandon, would you mind hopping on and we'll go with you next? So we'll have Brandon.
Yeah, sure.
Anthony with Aequus. And we don't see your video yet, just so you know. So. I'm wondering if it's our Zoom problem. Oh, no, there we go.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
We don't see you, but we hear you. And
Okay,
now
can
we
you
see you.
now?
Yep.
Okay.
And we can see your screen, so you just probably want to go into share mode.
Right. Can you see the full screen now?
Perfect. We're ready when you are.
Perfect. All right, let's go. So as a system engineer and Harvard-trained epidemiologist, I founded Aequus HQ to tackle 3 critical issues in healthcare: patient satisfaction, appointment no-shows, and a burden on our workforce. Aequus HQ was born out of a personal experience. My late aunt battled lupus and faced a complex healthcare journey. She often felt unheard by her providers, pain dismissed, and communication with her care team fractured. This inspired me to create a solution that empowers patients and streamlines care coordination. But let's face it, the healthcare system is struggling. Patient satisfaction is low. 43% find long wait times frustrating. 30% have walked out of their appointments, and 20% have switched providers due to wait times. Now let's consider the financial impact of provider no-shows. Patients who miss their appointments cost the industry $150 billion annually. It can cost a single physician practice $150K annually. Finally, the healthcare workforce shortage. We need about 3.2 million more healthcare workers to meet the current demand. Aequus HQ offers a comprehensive solution that reduces no-shows, improves patient satisfactions, and addresses the healthcare workforce shortage. So utilizing my system engineering background, I took a holistic approach to solve these issues. For no-shows, we proactively connect patients with the resources they need to attend their appointments, such as financial assistance or transportation, and we leverage AI to facilitate these connections. To improve patient satisfaction and address the healthcare workforce shortage, we modernize the patient intake experience. Our time management function allows both patients and providers to see where they are in the journey to reduce uncertainties and wait times. And post-treatment, we support providers in connecting patients with resources necessary for continuous care until their next appointment. So our digital patient advocate is a two-sided platform. On the patient view, you're able to schedule appointments, receive confirmations, check in digitally, track your wait times, and access personalized resources. On the provider side, you're able to gain insight into patient behaviors, track patient ETAs, and utilize a time management tool for efficient appointments. So we have three customer segments: providers, Medicaid and Medicare, and commercial health plans, and a total addressable market of $11.2 billion and a service attainable market of $1.1 billion. Our revenue model is a per provider per month and a per member per month basis. So with go-to-market, relationship building is key. So we partner with the Healthcare Accelerator with a proven track record of securing deals with startups with Fortune 50 companies. We're also focusing on areas with a high prevalence of patients suffering from multiple chronic conditions. So our time management feature and our proactive approach to supporting patients throughout the care journey sets us apart. We address patient concerns, digitize the experience with digital check-in and real-time updates, and our goal is to be the gold standard for patient experience and support. So we have two strategy advisors, program manager, and engagement specialists, and we partner with Google Cloud and Zasmic for an MVP development. So we're excited to announce our latest milestone. We're working with the lab by TechPlug, powered by Healthy Blue, and we'll also incorporate valuable feedback during MVP development through direct customer conversations. So use of funds, 76% is going to back-end development. The remaining is going to operations and marketing and sales. Millions of Americans like my aunt rely on Medicaid and Medicare. They deserve a better care experience. With Aequus HQ, we can empower patients, streamline communication, and ensure everyone receives the care they need. Together, let's transform healthcare. Thank you.
Great. And then Ben, will you kick us off? Oh, sorry, Phil.
Okay. I'm like two questions. First of all, I'm wondering go-to-market strategy, and second of all, what's your finding about the patients that are normally or frequently no-show?
So the go-to-market strategy, so as I highlighted, we're partnering with the accelerator that is working with a Medicaid plan. And so they are looking for innovative solutions to help with managing their member population. So what are the things that we're seeing with no-shows? Frequently, people don't show up to appointments due to transportation issues. That's number one. And then second would be like financial issues. So being able to have that touch point pre-showing up to the appointment to help connect people with those resources they need to attend their appointments is how kind of bridging that gap, if you will, that answers your question.
Are you finding that this is more like focused on specialists, so specialty doctors, or is it more focused on family doctors? And what are you sort of seeing there? And then also around the patients as well, like are these patients usually patients that need more assistance to get to see the doctor, or is this just your, like people who like, are busy, they miss an appointment, that sort of stuff?
So addressing your first question, initially we're focusing on providers that see like high-risk patients, so like primary care, pediatric, internal medicine. And then as it relates to the patients that we're looking to engage in, it's for everybody generally. But typically it's going to be those patients that are having transportation issues. So that's going to be your Medicaid base, maybe some of your Medicare, even some of your commercial health plans. So just helping to facilitate those and introduce them to those resources is what we're doing.
And then I'd love to hear a little bit about the onboarding path and kind of an extension of Philip's question of kind of go-to market. There's obviously a lot of regulation and privacy requirements here. So would love to hear more on that.
As it relates to the onboarding, what we're going to be doing is integrating with one of the major EHR companies to help support the front office with bringing in the patient intake, if you will. As it relates to your regulatory, we're definitely HIPAA compliance, and we're not going to be sharing or ingesting any kind of diagnosis information relating to the patient. So it's going to be more around social determinants of health and just kind of time management, if you will.
We have time for at least one more question. Does anyone have one?
Yeah, are you looking at also ancillary sort of like care workers as well? So like just like a full care management sort of element to this as well?
So when it comes into the health plan side, we're going to be supporting case managers. So, there's a healthcare workforce shortage with case managers. When you call your insurance company, it's hard to get in touch with them, we're waiting a long time. So being able to arm them with the information they need to help manage their members so they can see in real time what's going on with them, what resources they're using, what resources they need to utilize. So basically it helps support case managers on the health plan side.
One last quick one? No? All right, Brandon, any final words?
Final words is let's transform healthcare. Thank you for your time.
Great job. All right, we're going to, thank you, great job. We're going to try to bring Danny back on, see if the tech thing got fixed. Oh, looks like it did. So Danny, we just need to see your face when you're ready.
All right, let's get started. And hi, everyone. So my name is Danny, and I am the founder and CEO of The Path. These days, it can really feel like living a good and meaningful life is a nearly impossible road. It's laden with the realities of war, disease, injustice, climate change. The world feels heavier, and that's on top of our personal challenges like work and relationships. So it's no wonder that almost 6 out of every 10 US young adults reported feeling that their lives lacked meaning and purpose. And life's big questions shouldn't feel like a lonely road. And the good news is it doesn't have to. That's where we come in. We're building the world's first AI trainer for meaningfulness. Following interactive video experiences, which we're calling inner workouts, seekers will discover their ideals, align their actions with their values, and strengthen their meaning muscles so that they can answer life's big questions like why, who am I, and how should I live on their own terms. What's at the core of our app is the Meaningfulness NLP. This is a proprietary technology that we're building that helps meaning seekers identify their beliefs, measure their values to actions gap, and understand their worldview in a new way. Pilot testers have expressed honestly amazement at our ability to reflect back the seeker's worldview just by analyzing their answers to open-ended questions. And they've been eager to hear what's next for our technology, as have we. Companies like Calm and Headspace brought the resource of mindfulness to a world that was desperately in need of support in coping with major global challenges. But in doing so, they left behind an important piece: the underlying philosophies and ideas behind practices like mindfulness that take us from coping to thriving, living hopefully, authentically, and purposefully. And this is the context in which we're not only building a business, we're launching a new category, meaningfulness, a category ripe for creation. Meaningfulness sits at the heart of 3 different markets, with houses of worship being an $83 billion industry in the United States. But attendance at services is in free fall right now, and that's true across religions and across denominations. The behavioral health sector is expected to grow to about $115 billion by 2030, but demand is outpacing the supply of qualified therapists, and that's going to leave many priced out of crucial mental health services. And mental wellness is growing, with mindfulness projected to soon become a $2 billion industry on its own, and we see a clear runway for meaningfulness to follow in its footsteps. We're opening this category with both B2B and B2C go-to-market strategies in mind. On the B2C side, we're working towards a goal of $1,000 a month in prototype revenue, doing so by building owned communities on video-first platforms like Instagram and TikTok. On the B2B side, we're working our networks, targeting leading companies that employ millennials and prestige institutions that educate Gen Z as launch partners for our B2B offerings. We are your classic startup team, a hustler, a hipster, and a hacker. This journey started for me when I left my cushy career in global sales at Meta. I went on to do the totally normal thing of pursuing a Master's of Divinity degree at UChicago. There I met Sean, who is now a chaplain focused on end-of-life counseling. He heads up our B2C content and offerings. And joining us is Nick, a PhD in industrial organizational psychology at DePaul. And he heads up our B2B offerings and the development of our data models. We'll be responsible stewards of today's prize, putting half of it into much needed development to automate our assessment products, 20% into building aggregate data through MTurk, and the remaining going into accelerating our marketing testing. Our vision is simple but deep, a world where everyone can connect with deeper meaning in life on their own terms, without fear of
I gotta cut us off. I'm sorry. I gave you 15 extra seconds, but I'm going to give you the 8 minutes total. All right. So judges, thanks so much. Ben, can you ask the first question?
Yeah, sure. I was just curious around your B2B at play here. Like, like wondering if this is something that, you're talking about personal, like meaningfulness and things like that and adding meaning. Curious, is that going to translate to something where you can work with companies around like job hiring and recruitment and things like that, and how that piece looks?
We have been focused primarily on the value proposition of how do you measure the success of a subjective well-being program. So that's more in the field of employee leadership and development training. That's an interesting idea. I'd love to explore that further. It does seem like that's a good opportunity.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. Like, if I was going to use this, I probably wouldn't use it for the religious sort of side of things. That's not really my jam. But I would definitely be looking at it more from a, hey, is this job something that is the right alignment for what my values are, and will this actually give me fulfillment in my life?
Maddie.
I would love to understand a little bit around the target audience, and then also how are you thinking? Yeah, you mentioned it was a little bit of a softer kind of measurement on how people view this, and everybody's a little bit different. So how are you thinking about both the audience as well as the commercialization?
Our focus is on a very narrow audience of people who self-identify as spiritual but not religious. That's really the first audience that we're going towards. Pew Center projects that by 2050, non-religious Americans are going to be the majority population. So we're thinking long-term in terms of helping people who are seeking meaning in life but don't have the existing systems to support them.
But
in terms of building your own model, either whether that's an NLP model or LLM, how are you going to compete with the existing players that already own a bunch of data?
Yeah, we don't necessarily need to compete with them. We are really leveraging their platforms to support the products that we have today. We actually use both OpenAI and Gemini in the product that we have in market right now.
We have time for at least one more question. Any more?
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. If I'm your customer, or how would I understand that your product is working, is helping me to add meaningfulness to my life?
Yeah, and that's really what the meaningfulness model is about. So we have created a score index that shows people a sense of, if you believe that a connection with God is important, how connected are you to God right now? And once we have been able to measure that, then we can teach you practices or ideas to help you build that kind of meaningfulness in your life and do that on your own terms.
10 more seconds if you have any final thoughts.
Yeah, we last night I was speaking with a mentor of mine about setting 10x goals instead of 2x goals. And I came back to that statistic about 6 in 10 US adults. I am on a mission to reduce that number. Let's make it 3 out of 10 or 0 out of 10. Let's make
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Great job, Danny. I'm glad the tech worked. And then last but not least, we're going to invite Omar Alvarez with Kinnect onto the stage.
What up? Last one. Let's go. Let me share my screens. Get started. All right. Let me mute this. All right. Let's get started. So I'm Omar. I'm the founder of Kinnect. It's been such a pleasure building a company that A, is relatable and it feels good. And what I mean by that is a lot of us have had this desire to think about how to connect with our families, those that either are alive today or those that were alive in the past. So when I think about the problem statement here, loneliness is at an all-time high. It's so odd that it's so high, given how much connection we all have in terms of social media placements and different things that we can use on technology. The Surgeon General released an 80-page document last year that had all this amazing data, but also very scary data about how disconnected we are and how that affects our mental and emotional health. When I start to look at these spaces of like what are apps today or solutions today that really kind of meet the markets of connecting people and what they're doing and how they're approaching it, I start to see a huge gap. What I mean by that is a lot of them are actually not digital first, which is wild. The second is a non-habit forming. So how do you get a customer engaged and keep them going? Third is like how does it enable what we're using and seeing today in technology with AI? Fourth is affordability. How do we meet the fact that families and people today across the world, how do we kind of adjust to that? And the most important part for me in particular is how do we define our relationships with chosen and given families? I've been very lucky in my career. I started working at Nike headquarters and from there kind of progressed over to Levi's, Hilton, Kendo, and was the second product marketer at Hims and Hers and Real. And that's where this really started to come into fruition. I lost my grandfather to Alzheimer's a few years ago, and I lost a friend last year to leukemia. In both situations, you have someone that's approaching end of life or losing their memories and thinking about how to connect to their family. They feel lonely, they feel disconnected, and in those environments are asking for a place, a solution, and something private. And it's weird because everyone goes through this, and I couldn't find anything. It's what's allowed me to really think about like this space of genealogy. Genealogy does this amazing job of kind of showing us where we come from and what we maybe have intersected, but it doesn't do a good job of storytelling. It doesn't do a good job of generational knowledge transfer. So I started working on Kinnect. Kinnect is something really beautiful. It's really personal. It's momentum. And what it is, it's going to allow folks to create these invite-only spaces where you can invite people over generations to join in and share who they are today and who they are in 10 years. And what that does is allows their family members and other members to kind of see who they were in those spaces in those times. What's really beautiful about what we're building to is that it's very unique. And what I mean by the fact that it's unique is it's really sitting as a medium that adapts to the families. As we all know, our families change. What I mean by that is they change by people who are in our families and the situations we all go through. And what I hope to do is that the AI technology that we've been able to build and connect adapts to the needs of the family. So these dots that you see here in the middle, what's really beautiful about that is each of those dots actually are examples of when I started talking about my introduction of my name. So where did I get my name from and who gave me my name? How do I feel about my name? In my like 1 minute spiel about giving about my name, those are all the objects. And what's pretty cool about this is that I've been able to build this AI with my team that really focuses on this emotional intelligence. It's really thinking about tailoring and feeling what the person's saying, what they're showing on camera with their face. And what it's allowing us to do is then think about the stories they're telling and how to reactivate those stories when someone's feeling lonely or disconnected. So what I've been able to do is kind of build this brand that is really beautiful. It's very evocative. It's very different. I'll kind of go into some Q&A later. But right now we're kind of focusing on growing. So we just got improved as an employee benefits. We're working with senior living care centers, dementia organizations, and really inspired by what people did at Hims and Hers and Reels. My timer just went off. So Desiree, I know you're gonna come on and tell me to stop talking. So I'll pause there, but I'll answer the questions in Q&A.
Great. Thank you. Maddie, will you go first?
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. How are you thinking about making some of this stuff automated in regards to the connection piece and maybe also insightful? When I think of this, something that comes to mind is 23andMe or Ancestry.com and kind of some of those connection points, and they do a lot of the work behind the scenes. So how are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I freaking love them. It's actually like kind of started this is when I got 23andMe. I love to see where my family came from. I'm Puerto Rican and Guatemalan. I didn't grow up with my father though. And what I got really annoyed though is started to see there's a lot of like missing data. And a lot of people of color, etc., are also missing that data. And then I started thinking about these dots and these formations. So what was missing from them was also again like who they were. So when I started to meet with 23andMe and Ancestry, I actually kind of to get to a better understanding of why they're kind of missing that storytelling element and realizing that they're focusing more on the DNA aspects, the healthcare model. So what I hope to do is in the future actually is be a partner to them, kind of join with them to make it easy to find our families and relatives, and that way we can kind of connect the dots there. But the question you asked about the beginning of making it easy is hoping that we get access to the person's phone, and that allowing our AI to scan to see when's the last time you communicated with someone, who's in your pictures, what vacation did you just go on, things like that.
I am wondering what's your, because you mentioned about B2B partnership at the end, but I thought this product is more for an individual or for family members. Can you help me to understand what's connected there?
Yeah, it's a long tail approach. So I see the immediate focus for my first like year and a half is really focusing on capturing folks' like stories. And then from there, thinking about us moving into memory care. So what happens when we start having all this beautiful data, all these stories? What do we do with them, right? How do we resurface it when someone feels like they're disconnected? Or in the future, let's say if 50% of Americans right now are unfortunately are heading into having Alzheimer's dementia. How do we then kind of use this application to help that person in those spaces to hear from themselves who they were? In that case, also allowing that data to help the caregivers to know who they're helping. So right now we were approved as an employee benefit in the largest marketplace in the US called Benrion. And we're also right now meeting with a few different hospitals and senior living care centers. I was just in an accelerator program by Slauson & Co. and I'm backed by Techstars. So with these two different organizations, we've been really kind of pushing ourselves out way further than I expected. Which is where the B2B comes into. But yeah, our main focus is Z2C, but 20% of my time is focusing on that B2B for the future.
Ben.
Oh yeah, so I was just curious who pays for this. Is it like someone's like I don't know, like what's it called when you die, sort of thing? Like, you know, when you left like your legacy.
Obituary.
That's it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, who's paying for that? Is it that or is it something else?
Yeah, and it'll fold into a few of those spaces. So right now, like when we kind of bring those folks in and we're telling our stories, right? In the future, of course, we're going to pass. So then how do we go ahead and resurface those details and that data when the family members are missing them, when they're going through grieving, when they are just like wanting to know who their aunts were, if they had cancer in their family? How do they go back and kind of hear these people who have experienced similar genetic traits and moments and kind of learn from them? So it's a combination of like, I hope that we adapt to the needs of the family. So whether they're here today or they're missing them later.
And then the other thing, other quick question I
Sorry,
have.
we only have 8 seconds left. I don't think you're going to get a chance to answer, but I just want to final 5 seconds, Omar. Just okay, perfect. We're done. It was great. I'm sorry. I have to be very strict on the 8 minutes, otherwise it's not fair. But you did a great job. Thank you, judges, for the great questions. Now you have the unenviable task of deciding who wins today. So we're going to say goodbye to our judges, and we're going to welcome Brian Richardson onto the stage during the judges' deliberation.
Hey, Desiree.
I'm waiting for good, and we'll start as soon as the judges go out because I usually need every second. And then Omar, I'm going to have you go video off if you could. No worries. All right. So Brian is CEO of StartOut. And in March, Brian was named CEO, the national nonprofit empowering LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs. Immediately prior, Brian led the Midwest region for Lambda Legal, the nation's largest legal defense organization for LGBTQ plus people. And previous roles included Deputy Commissioner for the Chicago Department of Public Health Policy and Communications Manager at Google, Press Secretary in the U.S. Senate, and National Spokesperson at the Democratic National Committee. Brian started his career teaching high school geography as a Teach for America Corp member and holds an MBA from Berkeley's Haas School of Business, and his undergraduate degree is from the University of Chicago. He served on a number of nonprofit and governmental boards, reads voraciously, dances like no one is watching, and loves to travel. And he currently lives in Chicago with his 10-year-old son, Nico. Well, I also have a 10-year-old son, so if he comes in and interrupts you, well, you will understand then.
Yes, completely. Well, thank you so much for having me for today and for hosting this event, and to all of the entrepreneurs just for great presentations, trying to solve some really amazing problems with some more amazing solutions. So that was deeply inspiring, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And they all did a tremendous job today. So the judges are going to have a really tough competition. But can you tell us a little bit about, like, and you've done so many things in your career, but kind of what brought you to this role now at StartOut, and why is that the opportunity, the values aligned opportunity that you wanted to take, thanks to path reference?
Yeah, practically. You mentioned that I read voraciously. I'm always in a couple of book clubs, and I was in a book club 10 years ago, and I was at a house party last year here in Chicago, and a friend from that book club showed up and started talking about StartOut, and I had never heard of this organization, and started thinking about why in the career community we need an organization like StartOut, because you cannot have lived equality in our nation unless you have economic independence and economic financial security. And the more I started thinking about it, the more it connected. And I think the inflection point really goes back to middle school for me. I grew up in Alabama and had an 8th grade social studies teacher, Mrs. Thomas, who was this fabulous Black woman who was in high school in the 60s. And she walked out of her high school with her classmates to protest segregation. She went to a segregated high school. And many of her friends, this was Birmingham, had fire hoses sprayed on them by the police officers for protesting their civil rights, and attack dogs sicked on them by those same police officers in Birmingham. And to learn about the civil rights movement from someone who lived the civil rights movement was truly eye-opening for me. And one lesson that she taught that I'd forgotten about until I got recruited and started talking to folks at StartOut was why it was always the preachers in every city and hamlet across the country who ran the civil rights movement. And she asked us one day, why? And we would answer, oh, because they're really good public speakers, or they're morally righteous, or they're connected to the community. And her response is, oh, that's true. But the real reason why it was always the preachers was because they were the one person in the community whose paycheck was always written by Black folks. Because they ran the churches and they were paid through the offertory plate and collection. They had the economic security and financial security to go and lead a protest without getting fear, without being afraid of getting fired the next day. Whereas most other folks in the community, their paychecks were written by someone outside the community. And they were afraid that if they led the protest or were on the cover of Time magazine or winning the Nobel Prize like Martin Luther King Jr. did, that maybe they'd get fired or not put bread on the table. And so that inflection point for me helped me realize that in order to have social progress, which is what I'm so interested in, you have to have economic progress and economic opportunity. And the very best way for career people to get that economic opportunity is to create our own companies. And that's really the theory of change behind StartOut.
That's amazing. And I mean, obviously we agree completely here at TechRise because, for those who don't know, I started my career at the Kauffman Foundation. So deeply embedded in my brain is the role that entrepreneurship plays in economic mobility and it's really the fastest path to the American dream. And historically, it has been kind of exclusively the path to a few privileged classes.
It's nice you say that, but it's not historically. It's still today. I mean, we know that 95% of the people who get funding and venture funding are white, cisgender, straight men. That is not 95% of our population. And we have the StartOut Index, so we know that in that $2 trillion of funding, only 0.5% have gone to openly queer founders, even though you just heard from 5 incredibly openly queer founders, all of whom are deserving of venture funding and winning today's prize as well, too. And so how do we close that disparity when we know queer people are 8% of the population and make sure that everyone gets that opportunity?
Completely. And when you think of kind of the transformation of small business to startup and the progress that's been made actually on lending and from banks to support diverse business creators, it has not transferred over into startup world where we have the highest leverage opportunity to create wealth, generational wealth, and actually massive amounts of jobs. So yes. Definitely preaching to each other's choirs here. And I'm so glad that you're here. But so do you want to talk a little bit more about like the role that StartOut plays in helping to accelerate that progress?
Yeah, so we really look at 4 key areas for support: skills and development, research, access to capital, and community. The skills and development are the nuts and bolts. We help people put together their pitch decks. We help them ideate their ideas and turn them into an 18-month business plan. We've got an accelerator lab that's extremely competitive to get into. Ben Stokes, who's one of our judges today, is a graduate of our accelerator lab. And most of our graduates have gone on to raise money and we saw 2 exits just in the last couple of months of folks who went and graduated our accelerator lab. And we have a mentorship program with 500 mentors and those sorts of skills and developments. The second key area is research. I mentioned some numbers there. There weren't numbers when StartOut started. There was no one tracking queer entrepreneurs. Today, there's only one organization tracking queer entrepreneurship, and it's us. And so we were actually, I mentioned to you earlier, we were at the White House on Wednesday. There was a group of about 40 of us. I was one of the 3 or 4 speakers to give a briefing to Commerce, Treasury, and the President's National Economic Council to talk about the need for funding to provide more data so we can see the challenges here and the need for representation on commissions and councils discussing these issues. So that's research. We need to continue that research. The third area is access to capital. I won't go into that other than to say that to launch a company, you need money. And how do we connect folks to investors who know that queer people are a good bet? But the fourth is probably the most important to me and to our founders, because any entrepreneur will say it's lonely being an entrepreneur. And so we provide community and an opportunity for people to come together, just like you're doing here today with TechRise and bringing all these folks together. Because if you get a chance to connect with other founders and investors and people going through the same problems as you, you're going to succeed and do better. And so that's what we do.
Amazing. And then is there, I would imagine, a lens towards intersectionality. So how do you think about, within the LGBTQ plus community, it's very large and it's a spectrum, and both gender, race, sexual orientation. So how do you think about making sure that there is representation within the spectrum of queer identifying people?
What's so amazing about the queer community is that we are so diverse, and now you just see the diversity today and the 5 finalists that you've got lined up. And so what we have to do at StartOut is just to make sure that we are providing space for folks to come together and to be themselves, and have space and opportunity for trans community members and for female community members, queer women, for BIPOC community members. Because yes, we've only gotten 0.5% of the funding. Those that have gotten the funding look largely like me. And so how do we close that gap? And it's by providing that community and providing that space and representation and elevating the folks who've made it and letting folks see them and provide those direct one-on-one connections, because there's so much to do. And another key area too is we're not in it alone. Luckily, there are amazing organizations that are focused on women, on the BIPOC communities, on immigrants, on people who don't live on the coasts, who are not the folks we typically think of when we think of entrepreneurs. And we partner with 75 of those organizations because we can't do it alone. And so what do we learn from the women-led organizations, the BIPOC-led organizations? How do we source with one another? How do we share opportunities like today's incredible opportunity too? Because it takes a village to get stuff done.
Absolutely. Well, as a steering committee member for All Raise, I hope that we are working with you all. And if not, we'll make sure that happens after this. So you did touch on the idea of, between the coasts, because naturally, I think one would think that this organization is headquartered in the Bay or in DC, where most nonprofits tend to be. But you're here in Chicago with us. And so I'm curious how you see Chicago playing, hopefully, a productive role in promoting and progressing your work.
Completely. In fact, I was at a dinner in the West Loop last night from a fund that's trying to raise their second round based in New York, but they realized they had to come to Chicago. And it was a marvelous dinner with 10 or 15 different folks from around the industries, but all entrepreneurship focused. And you just see the energy and excitement, enthusiasm here in Chicago. But you see that enthusiasm across the country. And what we've got to do at StartOut and TechRise and all our organizations is make sure that we're paying attention to groups and communities and geographies that are so often left behind. And I think it was a great strategic decision for StartOut to be willing to take a chance on a CEO who's not based in the Bay or New York, and someone who's based in Chicago and who can go to places like Dallas or Austin, but also places like Minneapolis or Indianapolis that may not be at the top rung, but who have queer people and who have entrepreneurs, because that's where the next great idea is going to come if we're there and provide that support and those skills in that community.
I hear you have a hard stop at 1 and the judges are about to decide. So hopefully I can take over if you need to hop off, but I just want to say
I can last a little bit longer. I told them, so it's totally fine.
Okay.
Yes. And I want to find out who the winner is.
Yeah, of course you have to stay for the winner. It looks like they're about to come back. We'll see their screens come back on. But how can some of our viewers and listeners get involved?
Yes, go to startout.org or follow us online at StartOut or at StartOut Community on Instagram, and just be a part. And what we need great queer people and entrepreneurs and folks in the ecosystem, but we also need great allies who are willing to step up. I mentioned our mentorship program. We have 500 mentees right now. We have mentees that want mentors as well too. And these are mentors who may be in the ecosystem, but who may not be. If you're an HR professional or marketing professional, guess what? Founders need that information too. And if you're an ally and believe in opportunity and equity, join StartOut, join our mentorship program and help out. Or they can always make a donation at startout.org/donate, because we are a nonprofit and could use all the support we can get.
Absolutely. 15 seconds. So I'm curious if there are any particular programs or deadlines or things that are coming up that you're wanting
There
to.
are, in fact, if folks, and actually all 5 of our founders right here would be great candidates. We have an accelerator lab that's a 5-month curriculum. We pick 10 of the best and brightest queer entrepreneurs to join that group. Applications close in about a week. So if you're interested in learning more about the accelerator, go to startout.org and click the Growth Lab and apply today.
Great. Well, it sounds like everyone's back. So Brian, thanks so much for spending time with me today. Hopefully I'll see you out and about this weekend, because we'll be there too.
Yes, happy Pride.
Yes, happy Pride. Hopefully we'll meet Nico. All right, judges, if you come back on, and founders, if you come back on, we will announce the winner. All right, who's announcing for us today?
I am, yes. But I just want to laugh at Brian always speaking about Nico. Nico is amazing, by the way. So
I might have grabbed that from his bio. I can't remember if he actually said his name or not, but I hope I didn't, I did. But just a reminder, we're going to say the second place first, and second place matters because that means that they're in the running for the $100,000 grand finale prize this year. So even if they don't take home the cash today, they could potentially take home the big prize at the end of the year. So with that, who is our second place?
Yeah, so I want to congratulate everybody. Everybody did a great job, but we've decided that Omar at Kinnect is our second runner-up, or first runner-up.
Congratulations, Omar. All right, and today's winner
is Victoria and Banrion. So well done.
Congratulations.
We really saw a lot of potential in what you're building, and would love to definitely see you continue on this journey.
You're welcome to come on and say a few words, unless you're...
I was like, do I get to say a speech or do I cry in silence? I don't know. Thank you so much, judges, for seeing the potentiality in what we're doing today. And thank you also to all of my other fellow competitors. I honestly, genuinely, I would invest in all of your businesses if I had capital myself. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how your businesses grow and thrive. And I'm hoping to partner with you all in the future. So I don't, like Desiree always said, this is not a one-time experience. I hope that we can all continue to stay in touch and continue to help each other's businesses grow over time.
Well, congratulations, Victoria, and your Banrion team. And thank you so much, founders. You did an incredible job today. I'm sure it was a very hard decision for the judges. Judges, thank you for spending time with us and spending time with these entrepreneurs and giving them thoughtful questions. Hopefully you all will connect after this. And then remember, yes, this is not a one and done. We will see you all on the TechRise stage again. Thank you as always to our partners at Verizon for helping make TechRise possible. And then our next competition will be in July during Tech Chicago Week. So hopefully we'll see you either online or in person as we do a live TechRise focus on life sciences and biotech. See you then. Have a great weekend. Happy